go over a few things here. We've got a little app that we created in Google App Maker for tracking Martha's pies and pie sales. If we go over to the preview, you can see that we can enter different pies here. Let's enter a cherry pie. Pie. And let's add in a quantity of one of them, and they are $10. Okay, so that's kind of a neat deal. We can actually delete one here, and that's pretty cool. However, uh, up until this point, it looks like I've got a quantity and then the price, but there's no way I would have to manually add up what the price is here so I can see what the extended price is. So if you want to do that in App Maker, I can show you how. So first things first is that I go ahead and I uh, need to put something here so I can actually put the calculation in, correct? So let's go over to the widget well here. I'm going to grab a label, and all I need is a label because I'm not going to be entering anything in this field, so I just want something to display. And I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it extended whoop, total. Looks like I got an autofill here for myself. Now, here's the thing. The text that's going to be in there is actually going to be a calculation, similar to how you might do a calculation in Excel. And I'll paste in there and kind of show you what how the anatomy of it is. So I click here. Instead of saying, if I put a value, then I type something in here. But instead, if I say a binding, I can click more options. And now I actually get a place that's very similar to a spreadsheet's calculation area. Um, and I'll go ahead and I'll paste my little calculation in here. All right, so here's my calculation. What I'm going to do, and if you're familiar with Excel or any other spreadsheet or any number of desktop database-driven application environments, you'll be comfortable with how I set this up. So here we have the quantity. This is the path, right, to the quantity field. And then I'm using a little asterisk, which is the multiplication character. And I'm going ahead and I'm putting the path to the price. So I go ahead and hit OK there. You see now that it says expression, right? And if we preview that, we can see that sure enough, it works pretty slick. All right, so 1 times 10 is indeed 10, 4 times 12 is 48, and 3 times 17 is 51. So that works pretty slick. Now that we have that, boy, I don't want to have to now get my calculator out and add, 51 plus 48 plus 10 necessarily. And I'm not particularly agile enough to do that in my head. So let's do something similar, um, but using a JavaScript function for particularly doing that. Let's add up all these numbers so that we can get a grand total at the bottom. So let's click back to our dev environment. And again, I'm going to grab another label, okay? And I'm actually going to go down to the layout area and do a right. So it's a little bit close here. I'm not going to make this fancy. You can you can make it fancy. I just want to focus on getting this set up for you folks. But we got it to the right anyway. So now let's go in there. And right here, you can probably guess, I'm going to type in the name. And that's summary price. Okay. And the label again is going to be a binding, okay? Because we're gonna actually use some data. I'm gonna remove the actual data put in there. And we're actually going to do a binding to a particular function. So I'm going to copy my data here. Okay. And I'm going to use the function that I talked about earlier called reduce. And what reduce does in JavaScript is it's a function that will actually, you feed it a list and it'll add that list up, kind of reduce it to one number. That's why it's called reduced, right? So I have to feed it, right, what I'm talking about. So I'm feeding it the quantity and the price, okay? And I'm getting those quantities and price from the uh, uh, the line items. Okay, so I'm grabbing this order line items. I'm getting it, and then that's why you don't see the full path here because I'm telling it up front. That's where I'm grabbing it from. And now if we hit OK, we preview that fella. We see that indeed down at the bottom here. You can see that it does fit out 51 plus 48 plus 10 equals 109. Okay, so uh, that's our calculation right here. Now you might be thinking to yourself, okay, I know I can pretty this up and make this all this line up and look nice, but how the heck do I get it to show it as a dollar sign? Both of these, so that I can see that's a currency. Well, uh, this will involve creating a little script. And you can do first we'll create the script. And it's the client-side script because we don't need to send this to the server. We don't. This is just something for the client web browser to do and to make look like this. We don't need to store this in the background like this in the background database. So you can create. And now when we create a brand new script, um, AppMaker creates, puts the sort of default information here to kind of give you an idea of what's going on, just a default little alert. So we can clear that out. Um, we can rename the script to call it format dollars, okay? And then we could do a search on the internet, and which is really good if unless you're an experienced JavaScript person, you typically can say how to format. You type in a Google search, how do I format uh, uh, numbers into currency or dollars or whatever you want. So I did a little searching and I actually found this function right here. Okay, and this function is called get format money. Okay, so I didn't figure out. Yeah, I copied all this stuff from the internet, either Stack Overflow or someplace that have an answer for this. Again, most of folks that are using AppMaker aren't necessarily JavaScript aficionados, so don't be afraid. Just go search this stuff and copy and paste from what's posted. If I take a look at this, what you see on this is this is the function part right here. Okay, this is what I need to feed this function, this kind of stuff. So the number thingy is my 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, quantity times price, or the reduce function that we showed before, the reduce, the result of that reduction, right? Then I put decimal places, and then if you have a different indicator for thousands, like maybe a period or something, you could put that there, and the same with the decimal separator. Okay, so we got that set up. So now you think to yourself, well, okay, great, I set that up. Now, how do I apply it to these? So the first one, we're going to go ahead and we're going to apply it to our extended total. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this in here and kind of go over what I did. Okay, so format money right here. Okay, so that again, remember that was we're not calling the script here, we're calling the function within the script. And this is our calculation here, right? The calculation we had prior to putting this in here, right, is the quantity times the price. then we're actually going to modify it. I want 2 decimal points. All right. So, and then my thousand separator is the comma, and my decimal is a decimal or a dot or a period. Hit OK here. Let's preview that change. And lo and behold, you see that it now looks like a dollar. Right? Makes it look like you'd think it would look like. This fella, however, is still not been formatted, right? Because we didn't go ahead and into that one. So let's go back and do that one and see what the results are. So select that fella in the bottom right. We'll go up here to the property editor. We'll click into more options here. And again, we've got the calculation that we had previous, right? So I'm going to encapsulate that in our get function here. So now we have the get format money. Again, that was in the format dollars script. That function is in that script. Here is our calculation, right, that we used to have in there. Okay. And it actually extends all the way to here, right? Then we're saying only show 2 decimal points, and our thousand separator is a comma, and our decimal is a period. So go ahead, hit OK. Now I'll go ahead and preview that. And lo and behold, there it is. And if we want to make sure that we actually are getting all that function, let's do this. Let's do 0.25. Okay, and so that we're gonna fit that out to some others. So we can also create some new ones. You can see that updates now, and we'll say cream, say whip cream, and we're gonna get 2 of those, and they're $12. Well, it's 24, and so create another one. You can see this updates at the bottom here, and you're good to go. And this is just going to keep adding up as we go along.